Welcome back, and welcome to our weekly edition of All Things Women in Sports. Yesterday, the WNBA players voted to ratify the brand new 7-year collective bargaining agreement with the league. More than 90% of players participated in this ratification vote, and the results were a unanimous yes. So here's what we know about this historic moment. So first of all, the league will now be having a revenue sharing model. It's the very first in women's sports. Starting now, the players will receive 20% of the league's gross revenue over the next 7 years of this agreement. The salary cap for this year's season is also getting a massive boost. It's going to go from $1.5 million total dollars for the team all the way to $7 million in 2026. And this number is actually going to change annually based on league and team revenue growth. It's projected to exceed $10 million by the end of this deal. There will also be increases to the maximum and the minimum salaries. So last year's maximum salary in the WNBA for its biggest superstars, maximum, was $250,000. This year's minimum salary, $270,000. And this year, a super max salary can be up to $1.4 million. The new agreement also looks at player experiences. There will now be mandated charter flights, first-class travel accommodations, and enhanced standards for team staffing and facilities. There will also be expanded mental health coverage as well as family planning benefits. And this deal also tries to go back and help the previous generation of players, offering one-time payments for retired players with at least 5 years of service. Now, all that's left is for the WNBA Board of Governors, which represents the team owners, to sign off on this deal. And after months of worrying over a delayed or even canceled season, we now know the 2026 season is expected to begin on time. Training camp will be opening up on April 19th, the first regular season games coming up on May 8th. But somewhere in here, though, the league also needs to conduct an expansion draft, since we have 2 brand new teams starting this year, the Toronto Tempo and the Portland Fire. But there also needs to be a college draft and a free agency signing period for the more than 100 unrestricted free agents. And all of this needs to happen before the start of training camp in the next 26 days. But I want to end this with a word from the players themselves. In a statement, the WNBA Players Union wrote that, quote, "Too often, women have been told to be grateful for the opportunity. This union sees it differently. It's about knowing our worth and having the courage to demand more, not just for ourselves, but for those coming next." They also said this transformational CBA delivers consequential economic progress and expanded benefits that support players on and off the court. It also builds a stronger foundation for today's players, the next generation, and those who helped build the WNBA. It affirms the strength of our union and the power of our collective voice. They went on to say, now it is time to get back to the game and the fans we love, competing at the highest level and showing exactly what this league can be. But you know, we can't end this week's segment without also talking about some of our local ladies, especially not when we have 3 nominated for this week's Midwest Technical Institute Score Standout. First up, we got Kylie Hayes from United Township. The freshman scored 2 goals last week for the Panthers. So why don't you pull out your phones? If you can scan this QR code that's going to pop up on your screen here in just a second, it'll take you directly to the page where you can vote for any of this week's nominees. Here it comes. Kylie is joined by Layla Wright from Sterling, who went 2 for 3, including a triple, 2 RBIs and a stolen base, and Brianna Schlockpole from Rockridge, who went 3 for 3 with a double, 2 RBIs, and a save. And you can always find the page to vote on our website, WQAD.com, and you have until tomorrow at noon to cast your vote. Each week's winner is featured on Off the Cuff. And finally tonight, one more story. Today is a historic moment for women's sports. On this day, March 24th, 1921, the very first international women's sporting event was held in Monte Carlo, Monaco. The Women's Olympic Games was a 5-day multi-sport event featuring 100 athletes from France, Italy, Norway, Switzerland, and the UK. They competed in 10 events, which also included basketball. And that'll do it for this week's edition of Women in Sports.